my gorgeous makeup loving friends, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, hi, my name is Teresa. I have the Viseart Mini Editorial Brights. It's a matte palette and I kind of always wanted to get the big one, but it was always out of my price range. So when they came out with a mini, I was like, let's get my gross little paws on them, and my lord, is it ever mini. So obviously this video is a tutorial of this look and a review and maybe some swatches as well. So if that sounds like the video for you, then do please keep on watching. I have a full face of makeup on, so you know it's time for me to destroy my face with some swatches. Let's do it. So that's it. These are the swatches. So you can see the white is actually pretty darn pigmented. The yellow I did have to do a second swatch, but all in all, pretty darn pigmented and used for this eye look. So if you want to see how I did this look without the swatches, then that's the next part of the video. Ah yes, the liner is still wet on this eye, so it obviously seems like a perfect time to do the other eye. Yeah, so obviously I'm using this little Viseart Mini Editorial Brights, whatever it is, to create this. So let's get into it. I'm taking this Inglot 208 and I'm going into the yellow shade. And I'm just popping that there into the inner corner. Look, I have a strategy in the way that I do my eyes these days. It's pretty simple. But yeah, look at how tiny those little pans are. So like you're not getting a massive amount of product in the actual item itself, but I will say that's a pretty decent yellow. It is hard to get a good yellow. So I'm literally just packing that on the inner corner there. I wanted to test pretty much all of the shades. There's only one shade that I haven't tried, so I will actually be able to give a fairly detailed review on this. But I think the yellow does operate quite well. I mean, as you can see there, you do get a decent amount of pigment with this. It is quite a pigmented yellow. Reminds me a little bit of Tweety Bird. So that is what I shall call it, Tweety Bird, because none of the shades are actually named in this. So you have to, you know, correspond with your colour understanding. So if you don't know that orange is orange, you're going to struggle. And then I'm taking this blank canvas E10 and going into this orange shade, and I'm just kind of popping that on top of where the yellow is, but also kind of working it out. And I will say, you know, you kind of have to work with this a little bit to get it pigmented, but it is quite like neon-esque in a way. So it's not like a burnt orange, it's a very vibrant orange, to be fair, which I was quite happy about. And it does blend really nicely. So I'm just going to briefly go back and forward there like that. I will say that the shades do kind of blend themselves. I didn't have to work too hard. I will also say there is a bit of a red tint. Why? Because I didn't use a different brush for that. So look, it's slight cross-contamination, but it's fine. It helps with the blend. So then I'm taking the blank canvas E10 again, and I'm going into this red shade, which was, by the way, the shade that has already kind of worked its way onto the lid. I'm just popping that there. It's not actually a bad red. I remember, you know, Hayley from Beauty News used to always talk about wanting to get like a really good red matte and how she struggled with it. I don't think this is the absolute best, but it's definitely not bad. Like you can see you're getting a decent amount of pigment there, and it is one of those ones that you can just keep packing on until you get to the vibrancy that you want, which is how I've been doing it. Thankfully though, everything does seem to blend really well. Like I don't have to work very hard at that, which is exactly what I would want considering, you know, the price tag that these come with. Now when I did purchase this, it was on their website and there was 30% off, which was part of what like got me in there, along with like getting those little jewel blushes. So that's how they tricked me. And now I'm taking a Sigma E36 and I'm going into the purple shade. And this is where I think it kind of falls down a little bit. It's not as pigmented as it needs to be. I know that obviously purples are very, very difficult to formulate, but yeah, this takes a little bit of working. However, it isn't like patchy or anything, and it does blend really, really well, like once you do get it working for you. But initially, as you can see, you don't get quite the vibrancy that you would hope for, or at least not the sort of vibrancy I would be hoping for. In the end though, you can see that it does end up working pretty darn well. So not unhappy with that. Then I'm taking a Morphe M562 and I'm going into the lighter of the blue shades. And I think part of what frustrates me about this blue, unfortunately, is that it is super similar in tone to, like it almost comes off on the eye the same as the darker blue in the palette, which I think is really unfortunate. So I kind of feel like they should have just included this blue and replaced the dark blue with like a black, which I know would have gone against the whole, you know, editorial brights thing, but I always feel like a black is needed to just give you a little bit of depth, and I feel like that's part of what was missing from this kind of palette and this look overall. So you can see there that it does kind of come off as quite a dark blue even with the blending, and I'm just gonna bring it down here a little bit as well. Now you might notice that the other eye kind of is a little bit more bright on the outside. That's because I ended up using the white just to get the effect that I wanted to get, and I will show you that now in like a minute, although it will seem like less than a minute because of editing. Yay, editing, Teresa. But I was pretty impressed with the white, which is good. Like it did seem to pack a bit of a punch. So I'm just taking this BH Cosmetics brush and I'm going into the white shade, and all I'm doing is just kind of popping it along there just in an attempt to soften it a little bit further. And you can see it already starts to do that pretty darn well. Like it's a good white. And then I'm just taking this Melt Meshla brush and I'm going to continue on with just blending like that with that kind of pale blue and the white. Just along there to kind of soften things up a little bit. And now I'm taking this Zoeva 221 and I'm going into that dark blue shade. And I really do feel that with the kind of dark purple and the pale blue that were there already, this shade wasn't necessary. Like you can see, it turns up on the eye very similar to that kind of shade there. So I feel like it could have been omitted just in favour of a black. Sorry, I'm obsessed, like, but there must be a matte black or I will be sad. And you can kind of see it's quite difficult to get that amount of depth with that dark blue because it just isn't as dark as I might like it to be. So for instance, some of the blues from the Beauty Bay Midnight palette would be much darker and much more preferable for this in my opinion. Okay, so that's that bit done for the moment. I'm going to go and cut the crease and we'll come back and finish off the rest of the eye. So the crease is cut, so that means that we're going to try and use the white and the pink. Fingers crossed. I'm using my Zoeva 238 and I'm going into the shade white. And I am being a bit mean because I don't have an entirely white base. I mean, I would love to get like some sort of an eye paint that would work for me that is white, but I have struggled to find them. Now I know that MAC apparently does one, but it doesn't seem to be available in Ireland, so thanks for that, MAC. But you can see really good pigmentation on this white. Like, I think it actually works pretty well, which I'm not that surprised about considering the way that it performed in terms of like lightening down that blue. So it's pretty nice. And then I took another Zoeva 238 and I went into this pink shade. And I personally would have liked it if this had been a little bit more vibrant. Like this is a little bit more toned down than I would have like liked completely. It's not bad, it just isn't as bright as you would expect for a palette that says Editorial Brights. So for instance, in the recent video I did on the Beauty Bay Brights 2.0, I used the pinks quite a bit, and I kind of would prefer those pinks over this, because this just isn't giving me the vibrancy that I would want. So now that we have both the white and the pink on the lid, I'm going to use this blank canvas E10 to just try and blend them together a little bit more seamlessly. And you can see it does blend pretty well. I was afraid that kind of the pink would take over from the white and that, like, you know, it would detract from it, but the white really does kind of hold its own in this scenario. It does kind of stay pretty true to itself, which I was quite happy about. And then I'm going back in with the Zoeva 221 into that navy blue shade. And I'm just popping that in the corner there and working it toward where the pink is. And like I said, I kind of wish there had been more vibrancy in that pink, because I think it does just kind of get lost a little bit, you know. And for like a bright pink, you want it to really like pop out and kind of be the star of the show, but it fails to in this palette, I'm afraid, which just kind of makes me sad. Okay, so that is blended out a little bit better. So I am just going to take this blank canvas E10 and I'm going into this, well, I suppose a pine green shade, and I'm just popping that under here and kind of working it up here as well. There's quite a bit of pigment on this, like you'd be surprised that it manages to somewhat overpower that blue. So I mean, quite happy about that one. Like there's definitely some shades in here that I think are really, really good. And now I'm taking the blank canvas E10 again and I'm going into this slightly lighter green, which I kind of feel is more of like a grass green, and I'm just kind of popping that there and working it out a little bit more. And then I'm finishing it off using the same brush again, but I'm going into much more of a like a bright limey green. I'm just popping that on the inner corner there and working that on the way out. So yeah, that's it in terms of the eyes. I am obviously putting on a white liner. It's from the Split It liner palette by Artitude. Are you that surprised? I'm just going to clean this up, but we will come back and I will show you the full face and tell you what I think of the palette. I mean, it's likely at this point that you're like, Teresa, you do not have a forehead, you have a 5 head. True. This is why I have a fringe. It hides it well. But anyways, I did the rest of the look and I will zoom you in now so you can see it. I mean, personally, I'm shocked that I did not put gems on this. I kind of just felt like it didn't need it. It did all work really well in the end. And all in all, it is quite bright. As the name would suggest, it is an editorial bright palette. But what did I think of the palette overall? I mean, I used 11 out of the 12 shades, so I can give you a fairly decent estimation of how it performs. I think the white is really, really good. As I said in the video, I think they could have omitted maybe the dark blue shade, just saying, and it should have been replaced with a black. The purple, I feel like it didn't function as well as it possibly could have. That being said though, everything did blend together really, really, really well. It is just a matte palette, let's be real. Nobody kind of gets all excited about matte palettes these days, but I think it is quite a nice one if you like kind of bright palettes and have always wanted to try the Viseart formula. It is expensive. Do I think it's as good as other brands? Probably not. I think if you have, don't come for me, the Beauty Bay palettes, any of the brights from that, I think you're going to be able to get a very comparable look from it. So it's only if you really wanted to try the brand that I would kind of be like, okay, maybe the minis is where to go on this one. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty good. I would give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. It did work and blend really, really well, but I think there were just a few things where it needed to be tweaked to make it just perfect and warranting that quite hefty price tag. But that is it. That is the end of the video. Do please like, comment and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell just because it's polite, and do please share, because sharing is caring, unless of course it comes to an STD, in which case, you know, wrap it up. But that's it. That's the end of the video and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.